Hello everyone, my name is Apurv and welcome to the third video in Few Minutes with Mule 4 series. In our last video, we overviewed the Mule 4 variables and their scope, link for which is pinned right here on the top of this video. In this session, we will be looking into the process of consuming an external HTTP service via Mule 4 and anypoint platform. So let us look into a simple business case first to understand the concept and work our way towards implementing the solution. Now, consumer needs information for all articles with DNA in the title from an external application regarding scientific articles. So there is a third-party application which publishes different scientific articles and there is a long list of articles. But the consumer needs only those ones which are having DNA in their title. Okay. So we need to invoke an external HTTP backend to fetch the result accordingly and send it back to the consumer as required. Let us create a low-level design for the business case. We will receive the request from consumer at a specific web address. We will then invoke the backend or the external HTTP web service, which requires a query parameter to filter the DNA articles. We will implement this with the help of HTTP request connector present in Anypoint Studio, thereby fetching the result and sending it back to the consumer. In this particular case, we will use a search API, api.plos.org/search, which returns the list of scientific articles. All searches will need to have the parameter q for query specified. The q parameter defines the field that will be searched and by what criteria. Here, we want information regarding all articles with DNA in the title of the article, and hence we will construct the URL api.plos.org/search followed with query parameter q with its value as title:DNA. So instead of hard coding the query param, let us create and set a variable and then assign it to the query parameter. To do this, we can use set variable component or transform message component. Since in our earlier video we looked into how to use set variable component, this time we will be using transform message component. So let's go to the Anypoint Studio and create the application to implement the business case. Let us configure the HTTP listener, which will be the input node to our application. Let's change the display name to HTTP in. Give a relative path as, let's say, /DNA data. Let us check the connector configuration where we have the base path as services and host as localhost. Let us add the transform message component from Mule palette. Once you click on transform message component, you can see a default view with payload source code. Since we need not to set the payload but just the query params, let us leave it as is and create a variable by clicking this plus sign adjacent to payload. Once you click on it, you have this pop-up where you can create a variable or an attribute. Let's create a variable and give the name as title. Once done, let us go to the variable source code and set the value. Let's set the value as title:DNA, and we can remove the objects that aren't needed. This variable has a global scope and we will be invoking it in request connector. Let us add the HTTP request connector. To configure it, let's change the display name to say articles_HTTP. By default, method is get as required. Configure the URL or the uniform resource locator api.plos.org/search. And we need a query parameter q with its value as title:DNA. Let's add the query parameter, which is a key value pair. So the key here is q and value will be title:DNA, which is set in the variable named as title. So to fetch the value, syntax is was.variablename. So that would be was.title. Let's save it. So let us save and run the project and deploy it. Let us go to Chrome and hit the URL. So here we have the list of articles fetched from an external HTTP web application having DNA in their title. So in this way, we are successfully able to consume an external HTTP web service. So in this video, we learned how to consume an external HTTP web service, configure query parameters, and how to use transform message component to set a variable. Further, in our upcoming sessions, we will be creating more real-time apps and learn more about Mule 4 and Anypoint Studio concepts. I hope you find the video useful. Please do share your views and suggestions in the comment section. Thank you and have a great time.